So welcome everyone. Welcome, especially on solstice, the longest night, meaning that more light comes starting tonight. So we welcome that as we go deeper into winter. We have been practicing the traditional instructions on loving kindness training for the past few weeks from Lord Jigten Sumgun, and those are available on our website under resources, the full practice. So we started out touching base with Bodhicitta, and just as a reminder, that can come from a memory of receiving or a memory of a spontaneous opening, like seeing your animal companion or your grandchild. The memory might come from someone in your family offering you unconditional love, a teacher, or sometimes even the sun is the most accessible touch point. After nourishing that and really starting to develop a felt sense, letting go of the story entirely, but having a sense of not only how your mind is resonating with that feeling, that heart sense of loving kindness, also your body, as though it's just filling your body and radiating out from your pores. Then we began the section of the practice where we start expanding that. And Lord Jigten Sumgun's instructions are very simple. He suggests that we expand it in a spiral. So this could be around the family dining room table. It could be your neighborhood, your office, your friend group, the airport. It's really quite open for your imagination to take place. But as soon as we started doing that, everyone could see that if you paid close attention, the words are very simple, but the actual practice is challenging at many levels. So it's challenging to stay in the feeling, and particularly it's challenging to allow that feeling to go out with the same intensity, with the same purity of heart as when you were receiving it or had a spontaneous opening. And this is where we start to see how the seedling of Bodhicitta, which is loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and joy, is really nourished by loving kindness and also inseparable from the other factors. Loving kindness is inseparable from compassion, equanimity, and joy. So Pagma Drupa used to give the example is that this seedling of bodhicitta, which we're nourishing so carefully like a vigilant gardener, it is in the soil of loving kindness. So the soil of loving kindness is the ground, and then it's the waters of compassion that nourish it. And as we were starting to expand that bodhicitta from one being to another being, we could see that equally significant is equanimity. So the instruction is to really notice whenever it starts to wane in intensity and go back and start again by recovering the fullest quality of the felt sense that you're able to give rise to. But in order to allow that to radiate out, we have to have equanimity, not that all is well with each and every person, but each and every person is as dear and beloved to you as that little grandchild, as that animal companion as the greatest teacher you've encountered. So there's a sense in equanimity that all sentient beings are equally dear, not just neutral, but beloved. So as we begin today, I invite you to really notice. And when there is the sense of, okay, the felt sense starts to wane as I allow it to go out in my imagination around the dinner table, let's say, then you might immediately give rise to compassion. If a feeling of, well, I should be able to do this comes up, then compassion. This is not a simple thing. This is a profound thing. If the person at the dinner table is perennially grumpy, then compassion for that person, for the pain they're experiencing that causes them to be grumpy. So we start to see how they are all working together. When you give rise to compassion for family members, then you can allow that unconditional love to grow in your heart again and allow it to radiate out equally to, let's just keep with the category of mildly irritating. Someone who's a little more difficult, family but not beloved, to become beloved. Similarly, with people that you're simply neutral towards or total strangers, how do you cultivate that sense of beloved with that unconditional loving kindness going out, but also the sense of presence and listening that you would give to your niece, nephew, grandchild, however you identify beloved. So some of you may be still working with growing the feeling so that you feel confident. Some of you may start to allow your imagination to expand and then notice, particularly with, let's say, family members but not yet beloved, or you might be ready for strangers. So in the coming weeks, we'll work with many techniques that are appropriate for difficult people, but for today, let's just stay with that. And I want to allow you to experiment with that, and then I want to talk a little more. So calling forth that feeling, that sense, you open the door and your animal companion just runs towards you with joy and your heart opens up, or a toddler comes towards you laughing and you have that just unconditional opening. It's not something you even have to force. It's just, wow, there's an opening of, I want the best for you. Anything I could do for you, I would do for you. So allowing that feeling, then focusing on the feeling and dropping the story entirely in your imagination in a way that feels appropriate and safe for you today, working with your neighborhood, your office, your community, just however your imagination wants to start a spiral out, encountering different beings as you move along. And we will do this for about 10 minutes. Lord Jigson always points out it's easiest to do this if you smile, that is helpful. And if you sit in the posture that you see Shakyamuni Buddha with your left hand in your lap and your right hand touching the earth or on your knee. Okay, beginning. And as you're coming back, touch base with that feeling of loving kindness again. And notice the effect of that mental state. There's a quality of joyfulness in that mental state. If you recall the verse in the Four Immeasurables, may all beings experience the happiness that is free from sorrow. So that quality of joy that comes from the engagement with loving kindness, compassion, and equanimity gives rise to a joyful presence, a joyful state of mind. A similar quote to the one I read in the beginning by Longchenpa is, "From the soil of loving kindness grows the beautiful bloom of compassion, watered with tears of empathetic joy, under the cool shade of the tree of equanimity." So you can see that there's continually the sense of this delicate growing awareness of a quality made up of loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and joy. And they're working together to reframe all of your mental patterns and habits and tendencies. When I was contemplating getting together this morning, I was really thinking of, this special holiday week, and everybody's going to different kinds of gatherings, whether it's families or friends or work or community, and how we can allow this practice, or how we see this practice affecting our communities, how cultivating our state of mind actually permeates everyone that we come in contact with. And I was reminded of an old movie from the 80s called Wings of Desire. And it's a beautiful movie. And it opens with these angels who are standing, looking down on a huge city. And they're dressed in contemporary clothing. And then you see them going around in crowds or in subways, on buses, and you start hearing the thoughts of the different people on the bus, let's say. And the angel would just lean their head, almost touching the temple of the person they're sitting next to. And gradually that person's inner dialogue would shift to a more hopeful, content, and joyful state. It's so beautifully written, that their thoughts just slowly shift from negative to how wonderful it is to be alive. And it really gave me a sense of what is happening when we are practicing this regularly, and when we are able to allow our habits and patterns of bodhicitta mind to become stronger and stronger, they sort of outweigh our negative patterns, our sense of anger, our sense of fear, our sense of frustration, confusion. It's not that we're repressing them. Rather, we see them as, oh, this is a mental pattern. I don't have to activate that pattern. So for instance, these days, probably in friend groups, any topic of politics might come up, and all of a sudden, the whole conversation starts shifting into, let's just say, depressed states. And as we get stronger and stronger with bodhicitta, our presence and our joyfulness just like the angels in the movie, can encourage the conversations to come back to the joy of being alive. It's a sunny day. We're able to sit together and share as friends. So we can think about that training slogan that we looked at a long time ago, always maintain a joyful mind. When we are always maintaining a joyful mind, we are functioning in a way that affects people. And you'll notice that when you are with, say, some of these very accomplished teachers, in that you'll see all of a sudden the whole assembly becomes joyful. If you've ever watched the Dalai Lama teach, gradually a stadium becomes optimistic, peaceful, joyful. So we're not practicing on our cushions to stay on our cushions. We're practicing on our cushions so that our minds gradually transform and our interactions assist other minds, let's say as even a reminder that they too can encourage more positive states. So I'm giving you an invitation as we enter into this holiday period to really see what it's like to actively maintain this type of mind in any kind of gathering. You can do it as an experiment. You can see how long can you stay like this at the dinner table or at the airport or wherever you are. And as we were starting to see last week, this is why sometimes it's called the Bodhisattva warrior, because there's a quality of resisting exterior circumstances in drowning out this the strength of your loving kindness and compassion, and becoming familiar with that reservoir that you can touch within that's unaffected by outer circumstances. In order to do that, you have to have a sense of attention and in the beginning, you might say a kind of fierceness of, I can let my mind get overwhelmed, or I can guard mindfulness of bodhicitta. So there are wonderful words that have been captured from other kinds of language. So like a knight in shining armor, there's the armor of bodhicitta that when you're encountering difficult outer circumstances, the armor of bodhicitta keeps turning the mindfulness back to that well that can nourish you. Sometimes there's depicted in Buddhist imagery a flaming sword. So you're allowing the heat of bodhicitta and compassion to act like a fire, burning distracted thoughts of fear, anger, depression, etc. Those distractions to burn away. Again, not repressing them. And there are many, many techniques that we talk about and will be talking about of how to work with difficult emotions as they arise and difficult people when you encounter them, so that you can maintain this. But sometimes it's fun to just say, oh, okay, we have the courage and alertness of a warrior, so that we don't lose sight of mindfulness, and of mindfulness in particular on loving kindness and compassion, these trainings that we've been working with so very diligently. So as you go into different groups, another aspect that I'd like you to invite you to just consider is how the circumstances of the past 5 or 6 years has actually affected our different groups. Due to COVID, due to repressive kinds of political trauma, it seems as though people have become less trusting and more easily guarded. So you can look to see, am I carrying the residue of mental patterns myself from COVID, that I'm less trusting, less open, less friendly? What have I taken on from these global circumstances that really I'm ready to let go of? Is my mind more easily triggered, more quickly triggered? Is there more of an escalation easily arising when I'm triggered? And just keep that quality of the Bodhisattva warrior, looking at all the different aspects on your side and on the side of all the different people you're interacting with, noticing nuances and coming back over and over again to this well and reservoir when you're able to maintain mindfulness and beginning again. And noticing if there is a shift in the dynamics when you are maintaining that, let's say in family patterns or in group patterns, so that you start to see for yourself, wow, there really is a difference. There's a difference in me when I interact. There's a difference in the effect I have when I interact. And then that again encourages you to keep that mental state as a growing inner fire. Pledging to yourself, oh, I see, this is the actual result on other people as I keep my seat in this mind of loving kindness, in this mind of the four immeasurables. So it's a little sort of invitation to all of us to bring our meditation into all of the different gatherings that we're engaging with in the upcoming week. So, thoughts or reflections this morning, or questions? Actually, before we start the Sangha discussion, I'll stop the public YouTube. Bodhicitta, excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may